to another great episode of the 5 Star Revolution podcast featuring your host, CJ Price. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, 5 Star Revolution Podcast, and join us on Facebook, 5 Star Revolution Podcast. Tonight, we have a very special guest all the way from the Big Apple. His name is PJ Savage. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate you so much for giving me the platform, inviting me on, man. 5 Star Revolution podcast just got sad.
Thank you so much for joining us here tonight, man. I know you're a busy guy, so thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join me.
Yeah, man. Man, that's what it's about. Let's do it. Let's get into it.
So let's start from the beginning here. I usually ask this question to every wrestler that comes on my podcast because everyone has a different story.
Sure.
So, were you a wrestling fan growing up? And if so, who were your favorite wrestlers?
Oh man, yeah. I grew up in a wrestling household. My grandmother was heavy into wrestling. So I grew up every Saturday, Sunday watching Lucha Libre, watching AAA as a young little kid, watching old WWE stuff, WCW. I grew up on the stuff. Some of my first favorites growing up was Bret. Bret Hart was like one of the guys that attracted me immediately. Bret Hart, Sting, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. That's when I started to get a little bit older. Those were guys that automatically caught my eye. Stone Cold, The Rock. I grew up in the Attitude Era, so like that's like where my foundation's at. But my first love would always be Bret Hart.
Bret Hart is an excellent choice, man. He's a great wrestler, a great technical guy, and a Hall of Famer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, how did you get into the professional wrestling business? How did you find out about wrestling school in your area? Who was your trainer at when you first started?
Man, and that's great question because no one knows how to get started into wrestling. I remember being like 19 and 20. I wanted to do it. I just didn't know where to go, and it was just tough for me. I had a kid when I first wanted to start. I was very young when I had my daughter, so I couldn't really get into wrestling when I wanted to. So I had to wait a little bit later on, and oh man, I remember looking up wrestling schools, and two schools popped up. So it was like either one of the two, especially me being from New York City. It was either Johnny Rod's down in Brooklyn, WWE Hall of Famer, or go to House of Glory. And man, it was just something about Johnny Rod's. I went to him for an interview just to, just shoot the shit and see if it was a fit for me and if it was a fit for him. If I was trainable and like if I was moldable the way he wanted me to be. And man, I remember one of the things that made me become a professional wrestler. I was in a really dark place in my life, very depressed, very just in a very bad place. And I lived in Brooklyn. And this is right when the Barclays Center first opened and had a whole bunch of wrestling events come out. And almost every Saturday or Sunday, NXT was there, or there was a big pay per view, or Raw, whatever the case may be. And I would come out and just hear all the fans going crazy. And I would go to the back of the Barclays Center and just watch the production trucks. And I would always say to myself, like, man, I just want to be in there. And it's no disrespect to like the fans. The pro wrestling has the greatest fan base out of any sports, out of anything in the world. Pro wrestling fans are the greatest fans, period. And I just didn't want to be a fan. I didn't want to watch the product. I wanted to be in the product. I wanted to sit there. I remember watching shoot interviews or like Legends of Wrestling, which is on the network on Peacock. I used to watch that just religiously. And I would always say to myself, I want to sit at the table with Dusty. I want to sit at the table with Mick Foley and Jim Ross and be accepted, be one of them. That's what I wanted. And I remember going to Johnny Rod's that first day, and I felt like I started that journey. It felt like I was sitting at that table talking to one of the old heads and chopping it up. And it was like I was almost accepted. And I was like, this is the journey I'm going to stay on. I got that feeling here. I can't go anywhere else. Forget it. I'm just going to stay here. So I started out at Johnny Rod's, and I never looked back, man. So that's my first trainer, Johnny Rod's. A big shout out to him, what he does down in Brooklyn and Gleason's, WW. Go check it out. They're awesome. There's so much talent that comes out of that place. It's like New York's best kept secret. Not too many people know about it.
So, when you first started off in wrestling, did you expect it to be so physical and hurt so much? Because I used to wrestle myself back in the day. I used to be back in here. I live in Massachusetts, so I used to wrestle back here. And let me tell you, man, that ring is unforgiving.
Man, I played football, so the physicality and all that, like I was used to that. I was used to falling on the hard grass and the hard dirt. So like when I got into wrestling, falling on the mat was easy for me. And I was told by a lot of the old heads, guys like Matt Stryker and Devon, they all told me I got lucky because the ring at Gleason's was a lot softer than the older ring that was at Gleason. So I think I just got lucky, got into a nice little cushion ring. It still hurt like hell at the beginning. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sit here and say like I was bumping on pillows. No, like it hurt. That first shock when you take that first bump is something that it rattles every bone in your body. And if you don't tuck your chin or just do it properly, it's gonna suck. And I'm blessed having the trainers that I've had train me, guys like Matt Stryker, Mark Viola, Flex, Johnny Rods himself, Devon, all these guys that walked through Johnny's doors, and I got trained by them, and I got trained the right way, so everything was safe, and I learned the right way, learned the correct way, so nothing really killed me. I mean, yeah, we all got hurt, but it is what it is, you know?
Right, wrestling is a physical sport, so injuries are bound to happen.
Yeah,
So,
man, I love that side of it, though.
so when you first started wrestling, what was your first official singles match? Who was it against, and what did you learn from that match?
Interesting. My first singles match. Wow. I don't even know. I mean, growing when I was started with Johnny Rods, everything was a six-man tag match, or a battle royal, or triple threat matches, fatal four ways. It was always crazy. I gotta say, probably. Oh man, that's interesting. I don't even know what my first singles match was. That's crazy. It probably was versus a guy named Big Al. He's an amazing, talented performer down at Gleason's. He's still there. He was probably one of my first singles matches, to my knowledge. That I know of. I think he was probably one of my first singles matches, definitely. And it was a match. It was a shit show, but it was a match, you know.
So, what did you learn from that, and how did you progress?
Oh man, one of the things I always take away from every match that I have and that I'm in is always slow down. No matter how fast you think you're going or how slow you think you go slower. Always go slow. Stay there. Take your time, man. It's like Orton said on the Stone Cold podcast one time when Stone Cold asked him why'd he take so long when he was standing on top of the ladder when John Cena was on the floor and he had all the time in the world to grab both the belts and become the undisputed champion. And he was like, as a wrestler, you know you have those 10 seconds, those 10 to 20 seconds. And as a wrestler, no one can take those 10 to 20 seconds away. So make those 10 to 20 seconds the longest time in the world and just enjoy every second of it. And getting that from my matches, almost every match that I've gotten into, I always finish it going, I could have went a little bit slower. I could have tack this down a little bit more. And the slower you go, the more methodical it looks, the more cleaner it looks. Um, it just looks more real. It has that authenticity to it. Instead of just picking the guy up and going, it's like when we was getting trained by Johnny Rods, he always would tell us it's not a video game. It's not knock him down, pick him up, knock him down, pick him up. And when you first start wrestling as a young guy, that's what you kind of tend to do. Clothesline, pick him up, body slam, suplex, pick them up. It's like you always go through those motions, but that's one of the things I take away from every single one of my matches. Not even just that match, it's just slow the hell down.
Well, Johnny and Ross gave you good advice right there, man, and I totally agree with you because once you slow down, you let the fans register what you're doing in the ring.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, besides Johnny Rod's school, are there any other schools you went to in the area or seminars or anything like that?
Man, not really, man. Straight out of Johnny Rods, I kind of hit the indie scene hard. And then when you're with Johnny Rods, so I don't know if you know this or members of your audience know this. When you're with Johnny Rods, you're not allowed to do indies. He doesn't really allow you to go do seminars or do any of those things. He doesn't want anyone else teaching you. He wants to be the only cook in the kitchen. And some people might see that as detrimental, and it is to some degree. But you get a pure Johnny Rods experience. But I left Johnny Rods Man, I want to say about 9 months ago, 10 months ago, and I hit the indie scene. And hitting the indie scene, I would say I did go to a finishing school, and that was up at Sanctuary, getting taught by John Trosky and another trainer that used to be at Johnny Rodz, which was Cowboy Billy Walker. He was up there. That's how I got connected into Sanctuary. And Sanctuary teaches you everything from your entrances to camera work to a whole bunch of things, man. So Sanctuary is definitely another place. But every time I'm in the locker room, I'm learning from somebody, whether it's Sean Donovan, Dan Mapp, whoever I'm in the locker room with, man. I was in the locker room 2 weeks ago with Homicide. He was dropping so much knowledge on me that he probably would have dropped that seminar, man. So it's all about just being a professional wrestler, going up to your peers and being like, hey, can you teach me something? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? What do I have to do? Always ask those three things, and it'll take you far.
Well, funny that you mentioned Sean Donovan. He was on my podcast like a couple of weeks ago. He's a great guy.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I love Sean Donovan. I can't wait to lock up with him, man. It's gonna happen soon.
So let's talk about PJ Savage. Who is PJ Savage? What's your character about for those fans that don't know you?
Man, this is the thing that separates me from a lot of people. It's PJ Savage, the person, and PJ Savage, the character, is the same person. There's no separation between the two. PJ Savage is me, the person, with the volume turned all the way up. I grew up in New York. I grew up in Harlem. I grew up in shit. Like I've grown up fighting statistics. I've grown up fighting every odd that gets put in front of you when you're born in the hood, and going to the schools, going to public schools where you got to fight every day just to be accepted. Where not learning is not the cool thing to is the cool thing to do. Cutting school is the cool thing to do. If you're one of those guys that's at school every day and doing your homework, you got to come home and fight somebody because they're gonna call you a nerd on the one train or just on the way home. Uh, so there's a lot of New York in me, just that tough grind I've just made. Like there's a lot of grit and grind to me. That's why it's all, whenever you see me in the ring, it's hard hitting. I put my heart on my sleeve. Everything that you see in the ring of PJ Savage is me, the person. It's just real. It's authentic. I'm gonna punch you in the fucking mouth. I'm gonna get my point across because I'm the best guy here, and no one's gonna take it from me because I want to reach what I want to reach, and what I want to reach one day is to be the best in the world. That's what I want one day. I want it. I crave it. I desire it. Everything that you could put into that little syllable, that's what I want. I want to be the best in the world. And that's all because of New York, man. That's when you're bred in the city, you're chilling on the one train, you gotta fight crackheads, fight bums. You just gotta, you never know what your day to day is gonna be in New York. Going to Harlem, going to the Bronx, going to Brooklyn. I trained in Brooklyn. I was born in Harlem. Family in the Bronx. I've been through all of it, man. Like New York has bred me to a whole nother level. So BJ Savage is just an angry New Yorker that wants to prove he's the best at the end of the day, man.
So I'm gonna put you to the test right here. I do this to every wrestler, where I ask them to cut a promo for me in character for about 30 seconds, if you don't mind. You
Oh
think you got
man,
what it takes?
those are easy for me, man. I just gotta be me, baby. Anything in particular you want me to cut a promo on?
Cut a promo on me, CJ Price. Go ahead.
CJ Price. CJ Price. I'm gonna tell you something, CJ Price. You see, this Saturday is gonna be CJ Price and PJ Savage, and me and you are gonna step in that ring. And I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. One of us isn't gonna come out walking. One of us isn't gonna come out the same. I'm gonna take a piece of you. You might take a piece of me, but at the end of the day, you ain't gonna be the same when I'm done with you. And you're gonna have to live with that. And you're gonna have to live with the fact that you stepped in the ring with PJ Savage and you didn't come out walking. There you go. There you go.
Hell yeah,
Off the
man.
top of my head, man, that's what I do, man. I don't write my promos. I just come up with them on the fly, man.
So are you a heel or a face right now?
Oh man, it's interesting. So with the pandemic, I haven't really gotten the chance to wrestle in New York City as much as I've wanted to. I had one match in New York, and that was in Queens. But I've been wrestling in Jersey, and Jersey is a different type of crowd. Jersey's like the definite. They're almost like a Philly crowd to a degree, where it's like the bad guy is the guy that gets cheered. So I remember when I first hit the indie scene, it was like, all right, yeah, I'm a big guy, I look mean, and I'm hard hitting. I'm gonna go after the baby faces, so I'm gonna be a heel. And I remember I got thrown into a hardcore match and did something heelish, and a bunch of the kids, and I'm not lying, these are like 5, 6 year old kids in the front row in Jersey, in Toms Rivers, New Jersey. They were chanting, "We want blood, give him hell, Savage." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'm not a heel out here. I guess I'm a baby face." So majority of my time spent on the indies this past like 9 months. I've been basically a baby face at a lot of places. Always typically when I show up at a new promotion or a new territory, I always start out as a heelish kind of character, but I'm so real and authentic, and you respect what I do in the ring that people actually just end up getting on my side. So it's one of those respect factors, you know.
So I'm assuming you like doing a face character more than you be doing a heel.
And yeah, you know, like I remember when I first really got into it and into the whole heel and face aspect of it. What interested me the most was it was easy to be a bad guy to me at the beginning. It was like, cheap heat, talk shit to the crowd, call some lady fat, call her son ugly, call her husband a shrimp, and it was like instant heat, and that's too easy, like, or a good guy walks into the ring, kick the ropes, or do something, scrape his eyes. It's so easy to establish a heel character if you know how to do it right. I felt like a babyface was a lot more challenging, and I want to challenge myself. I want to be the best at this, so I want to garner all those things. And when I first started, it was very weak for me to be a babyface. It was hard. Like that was a weak aspect of my game, and so yeah, being a babyface is something I wanted to do more, and I kind of got into the whole aspect of being a babyface. But that's only because it was so hard for me at the beginning that I dove into it. It was like, no, I got to get good at this because being a babyface, you got to gain that sympathy. You got to make people care about what's going on in the ring, whether it's selling or storyline, whatever the case may be. You got to make them care, and that's very hard to do. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's so hard to do. So it was a challenge for me, and I've gotten better at it. I'm not great at it. I'm not the best at it. I will be one day, but I'm getting really good at it, man. This weekend was a great weekend for me. I was at Invictus Pro Wrestling. I was at Titan Championship Wrestling, and it's like one of those things where you like play a video game, the old WWE games you play where you create a character, and you can feel the popularity go up with your character. After the match, you see the popularity number go up or something, and that's what it kind of felt like to me this weekend. It was like, all right, people are starting to know who I am. I'm actually getting over before I even do anything. So it's getting to a good place now where people are starting to respect the name, know who I am, and that popularity number is going up. So it's it's going good right now.
That's a good feeling, man. The hard work's paying off where people know you before you even start wrestling. You're on the card and be like, oh, PJ Savage is on that card. Let me go check that show out.
Yeah, and that's important, man. That's very important. When you become that guy that people want to come see, then you're a guy that they're going to put on the marquee. You're a guy that they're going to put on the poster. You're the guy they're going to advertise. They're going to put your promo all over the place. Like and that's what I want to be for every single company that I step into. I want to be the game changer. I want to be the guy that elevates every single thing I do, every single company I'm a part of. I want to be the guy that takes it from here all the way up there. You can't even see it.
So how long you been wrestling so far?
And it's been about, I want to say, if you discount the pandemic year, it's 4 years. If you discount
Four
the pandemic.
years.
I was
So
down at Johnny Rods for 3 years.
so you're still kind of new to the business.
I'm
Still
still a baby. I'm still a baby. I'm still a baby.
still learning the ropes and stuff. So my next question for you is, how do you deal with backstage politics when you're new?
Man, I gotta be careful how I answer this. So being trained by Johnny Rods that's probably one of the steps ahead that you get from going to Johnny Rods. If you're one of those more people out there that wants to learn how to become a professional wrestler, go to Johnny Rods because he's going to teach you how to get your fundamentals down in the ring. He's going to teach you how to learn how to swim with sharks, and that's kind of one of the things. I used to sit in his office for hours, and he would tell me how he dealt with Vincent Senior, how he dealt with Vincent Kennedy McMahon, how he dealt with politics, and how he maneuvered himself to make sure he was in the right position. And it's like Triple H always said, and I learned that I used to study Triple H for days. And in his Fight Kingdom Come documentary, he always said, you have the bullet, you have the gun. It's up to you not to give everybody else the bullets to put into the gun that's pointing right at your head. And that sums up backstage politics. That truly does. It's up to you, man. Like it's up to you to make. I used to come out to Shine Down Devil as my entrance because he says in the song, the mistakes are yours to make, no one else's. And that rings true in the wrestling business. It's up to you how far you go, but the moment you start going down or you start going in the wrong direction, it was on you. It's always on you. You fucked up. Your chip on your shoulder was too big. Your head was too big. Something happened that you didn't know how to just shut the hell up, and it got you in trouble. So that's just the wrestling business, man. You got to learn how to maneuver those borders.
So with 4 years in the wrestling business, I'm sure you've traveled here and there. Do you have any
Yeah.
funny road stories that you want to tell us?
Man, I got countless stories of just being on the road, man. Being on the road has become probably I have a love-hate relationship with it. It sucks being in the car. Sometimes I remember I was going to Plymouth, Massachusetts, and it was like a 6-hour drive going and coming. So it was like 12 hours on the road just for like a 20-minute match. And it was hell, man. But the things that happen on the road, man, they're amazing, man. They make you more of a professional wrestler, and you see why wrestlers fall in love with the life, you know. So like, I have a show that's on YouTube. Episode 2 comes out either tomorrow or the next day. I think it's the next day. I don't even know when my show comes out. It's called Savage Season. There it goes behind me, and it's basically a travel vlog of just me backstage and me on the road with the guys. I'm in a group of guys. We call ourselves Takeover. It's me, another wrestler named Jay Bougie, the tag team named the Faceless Ones, and a couple other guys. But we call ourselves Takeover because we're just taking over the whole scene. So, but we all travel together. So the stories and the things that happen with us on the road, man, check them out on the vlog. There's these funny stories about Wawa. I don't care what anyone says, Sheets or whatever any other rest stop there is. Wawa is the king of rest stops and gas stations. Wawa forever be king. The things that happen at Wawa stays in Wawa. it's just it's one of
I
those
want to
things.
hear one funny story, man. Give us one.
Oh man! All right, Jacob's gonna kill me for this. So Jacob's one of my guys in Takeover. He's in the tag team, the Faces one. His wrestling name is Jacko. Um, so we go into Wawa, and I'm using the bathroom. Jacob's using the bathroom, and his tag team partner Face comes in. They don't know I'm in the bathroom, but they're fucking ribbing each other. They're fucking around with each other. And Face says out loud, "Jacob, you trying to suck some D today?" And Jacob yells out loud, "Only at Wawa." So after that, we come out, and I'm like, "Bro, you know I heard that, right?" He said, "What you mean?" I was like, "I'm gonna get you a T-shirt that says Jacob sucks D at Wawa." It's become a running joke everywhere we go. We go into a Wawa, we run in there, and we tell all the wrestlers, "Jacob's here, half off." You know, you go to the bathroom, pay for his burrito, it might help you out a little bit. So that's one of the PG stories I can tell you. The rest is just too crazy. The rest, there's some other crazy ones I can't really say on a podcast.
Hey, man, that's the life of a pro wrestler. Wrestling is crazy and unpredictable, man. So,
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm not trying to get canceled. They like doing that these days.
so you've been in the wrestling business for 4 years.
Yeah.
What's one thing you wish you knew before you started wrestling?
Oh man, that's a good question. That's a good question. One of the things that I wish I knew before I started wrestling. Oh man, wow, that's a good question. Stop me there. I would probably say that being in shape. Just wrestling. You could train as much as you want in the ring. You can learn as much backstage politicking as you want. Learning how to swim with sharks, learning new moves, doing whatever you want to do, learning how to do promos. But if you're not in shape, no one's going to look at you. I am literally a product. There's been chances that have come my way that I've literally gotten told And a shit, I'll drop it on your podcast. I literally was told by someone high up in WWE that's on WWE TV today, we're not going to bring you in for a tryout right now because you're not in shape. We're not going to bring you in right now because we know what you could be. And we don't want your first impression to be a pudgy bastard. That, oh, wow, that's BJ Savage. Imagine what he can do if he was in shape. And man, if that was drilled into my head before I got into the professional wrestling business, I probably would have been signed already. Like, no shit, not lying to you, straight shoot. And I regret it to this day, man. I have health problems. There's a whole bunch of things I've been battling, but I finally got my shit in order. The pandemic did not help me at all. I got really sick during the pandemic. There was no way for me to work out. I gained like 50 pounds during the pandemic. I went from like 240 to like 290 during the pandemic. Came back wrestling weight. I was wrestling at 290 to start. Now I'm down to 250, and I'm trying to get down to 230. So, and that's been 8 months of just work. And right now, and you know, I grew up in New York. I grew up in Harlem. Man, no one teaches you about diet. No one teaches you about any of those things. They just don't, man. Like no one teaches you how to be healthy. The running joke in the hood is basically like, shit, I don't want to eat healthy. That shit's too expensive. Like, you know, why get a salad? It's $10. I could go to McDonald's and get me two cheeseburgers for $2. Like, that's the mentality that's like drilled into you growing up where I grew up at. So it was just one of those things, man. I just wish I learned about how to eat healthy and to tone the diet down and really just be in shape before I ever get in the business. The guys that get into shape before they ever in the business, they're so lucky. But a lot of those guys are the duds, and they just never like pan out, man, because they're just like, well, I got the six pack and I got the chest, so I got it all, you know. Like so, and those guys just never go anywhere because the moment you act like a know-it-all in the wrestling business, you're dead. Man. That's it.
To me, man, you look in great shape. And on the pictures, you got them guns, man.
We working, man. I'm working, man. I'm working. I'm trying to get a really good body and a body to where I'm undeniable. I told my boys like I'm gonna make myself just undeniable. Can't deny me no more. Like I'm hearing from so many people from different companies, from different places. Man, you got all the tools. You just need the body. And it's like, all right, what are you gonna do once that body's here? That'd be a big fat contract sliding under my door. But man, I'm not in it for the money. That's one of the things, man, about me for professional wrestling. I'm not in this for money. There's no money in the indies, first of all. Yeah, there might be some money in WWE or AEW or one of the big companies. I do this for the love of it. Like I love professional wrestling. It was my first love. And one of the things that I want to be, just life story wise, I want to be remembered. And I remember sitting there as a young kid, little teenager, writing all that stuff down. Who else is more remembered than wrestlers? In pop culture, there's nothing but Macho Man, Hulk Hogan. Look at The Rock now. Look at Stone Cold. Look how remembered and iconic these men are. They live forever. The Ultimate Warrior lives forever. These are men that stand the test of time. And once you get that stature that wrestling gives you, that legacy that wrestling gives you, then you can do something with it. Then I can give back. And I can't wait to get to that position. So that's what I do this for. I do this for the love of it. I do it because I want to be remembered. The contract and all the good stuff that comes with it from my family.
Hey, man, I love that mentality. With only 4 years in the business, you have a great mind so far. So keep that up, my friend.
It,
My last question for you, Mr. PJ Savage, is what can we expect out of you in the next 3 years?
Next 3 years, I will be signed. I don't know where, don't know how. Bigger picture, I will be signed. I will be whipping ass on TV, and you will be seeing me every week. I promise you that. I fucking promise you that. That's where I would be. In the short term, I'm gonna take over this indie scene in the next 6 months. I'm gonna take this indie scene by storm. I'm talking to a whole bunch of people on the West Coast and the East Coast, down south. I'm gonna take over this indie scene to put a name on the whole market of PJ Savage, and that market's gonna blow up and it's gonna go upward. But 3 year term, man, I'm gonna be signed somewhere, somehow, holding gold and just pushing for legacy.
And when you get signed, you better come back on my show.
Oh man, you got it, man. You got I got this thing with everybody I do stuff with, podcasts with, interviews with. You guys are now Savage family. So 5 Star Revolution Podcast is now Savage Family. Hashtag Savage Family, man. I'll be with you guys forever, man. Whenever anything happens in my career, I'll come on your podcast. I'll announce it. Whenever I got anything going on, I'll announce it. I'll sign with a company and I'll announce it here. Don't worry, brother.
That would be awesome, man. So where can our fans catch you on social media? Where can they follow you?
Oh man, everything on all major social media platforms is PJ Savage underscore at PJ Savage underscore. www.prowrestlingtees.com/PJ Savage. On YouTube is at PJ Savage. Go check out the YouTube. Got the second episode of Savage season going up. There's matches and promos always being uploaded to the YouTube channel, the Twitter. I'm more than welcome to talk to everybody. Instagram, I'm always collabing. Instagram's mirrored. You probably catch most of my promos because I know more people tend to be on Instagram. Facebook, you know me on Facebook. That's me all connecting, making friends and family. So hit me up on there. I don't care. Um, Patreon's launching soon. Twitch is up, so I'm going to be streaming even tonight. So if you guys want to stream with me, get on with me, play Call of Duty, PlayStation, Xbox. I have all the systems. I'm a huge gamer. Hit me up. Everything's at PJ Savage, baby. PJ Savage is that.
Well, there you have it, folks. PJ Savage on the 5 Star Revolution podcast. We thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And for you listeners, don't forget, join us on Facebook, 5 Star Revolution podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And Mr. PJ Savage, we wish you the best of luck in your career, my friend.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Can't wait to come back on, baby.
Have a great night, sir.
You too, brother.